Let's go over an update for Star Wars Episode 9 when it comes to some new locations that were recently scouted. This is Mike Zero here. If you guys are new to the channel, do make sure to subscribe to see future Star Wars content. Now, as you all know, these past couple of weeks, we've been learning a whole lot more about the final film in the sequel trilogy that was written by, of course, JJ and Terrio, in which they will begin filming at the very end of July. Now, looking at Episode 9 specifically, we've been learning a whole lot more about all of the different locations that have been scouted these past couple of months, such as Machu Picchu and Moray, and places over in Alaska and Utah, even places over in Spain, etc., which brings us to the recent locations that were scouted for possible locations for principal photography for shooting of Episode 9, and this brings us to Scotland. 3 separate locations within Scotland that consist of these names: Argyll, Scotland, Glasgow, Scotland, and Loch Lomond. Now, the one that really sticks out to me, and I actually looked this up after hearing about this, Loch Lomond is a beautiful spot in Scotland. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it, but Loch Lomond has a nice lake there, a lot of water, trees, hills, highlands, and it's even home to a lot of deer there. Now, like I say, when it comes to all these different Star Wars movies, when they choose a certain location, the animals that live there, they use that as inspiration for the new aliens/creatures that will be entering into the Star Wars universe. So for a great example, in The Force Awakens, we had, Skellig Michael Island that served as the planet of Ahch-To, and on there you had birds called the puffins. In real life, they actually do live on Skellig Michael. They're called puffins. They used the puffins as an inspiration for the porgs. So, if they do end up choosing Loch Lomond, Scotland, and that's home to a lot of deer there, they could very well actually they can basically transition those animals into creatures for the Star Wars universe. There's endless possibilities. Now, Loch Lomond, I think, is the best part out of all those 3 locations that were recently scouted for Episode 9, not only because of the beautiful water and the highlands, the trees, the mountains, etc., but it really does remind me of something majestic and something that could very well be meant for Star Wars if you really do add in a whole lot of things to the background. Now, for an example, they did this over in the UK, alright, the foresty area of the UK. I'm not quite sure what the exact location was, but in The Force Awakens, Takodana was actually in the UK, and they placed in Maz Kanata's castle, which was CGI. Now, all the interior shots were in studio, of course, but all the exterior shots were actually on location. So they could very well do something similar in a sense to that if they want to choose that location. Now, the fact that they are looking at Scotland, which isn't, well, too far away from Ireland, it's not too far away, and in some areas it does have a similar terrain to Ahch-To, and it really does raise a lot of questions. Could we be going back to the planet of Ahch-To? Maybe Rey goes back there for a brief moment and retrieves, Luke Skywalker's green lightsaber or something? Who knows? Like I say, anything can always happen for this movie, because in the original trilogy, you have Luke Skywalker going to the planet of Dagobah twice. He goes to see Yoda in Empire, then he leaves, and then in Return of the Jedi, he goes to see Yoda once again before his death. So, could we see a similar pattern in a sense, where Rey does the same? She visits 2 planets twice, just like Luke. So in Luke, he grew up on Tatooine, and he returned to Tatooine in Return of the Jedi. And then maybe perhaps for Rey, since she grew up on Jakku, maybe she'll go back to Jakku, and maybe she'll go back to Ahch-To after training with Luke Skywalker. Or if you want to consider that she even got training from Luke. But looking at, everything that has been happening with Episode 9, we're getting closer to principal photography. They're in the final stages right now of choosing exactly which locations will serve as backdrops to the new planets in this movie. Anyways, guys, drop a comment below. Let me know what you think about this, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, do make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.
nights alone.